so that we can see how we can transform this and how we can take advantage of these interconnections that are now possible between all of these. What you might call all these islands of the human spirit, islands of humanity. So let's look at this. Let's look at one of these in 3 dimensions. Okay, so here we have a pocket of decent living in the world today. Call this the United States. What does that look like? What does this look like in 3 dimensions? What it looks like is this. This is the United States. And what this could be, what you could think of this as, is basically a symbol for every single person in the United States. Every one of these dots making up this form is a person in the United States. All the way up here, there are people up there. And your position in this shape, which is kind of a squished pyramid, indicates the amount of power you have in this entity, this organization that is the United States. And if we are to look at it, that is the vertical of it. This is down, this is up. Further up here, the more powerful you are. And power can be measured in a lot of different ways. One way you can measure it is wealth. And if this was to scale an accurate picture of wealth in the United States, this is probably pretty still far off. It'd probably look more like something like that, except for not with this like bulge at the top. And it might even be worse than that. It might be more like that. This down here would be the middle class. And this, the upper 1%. And up here, the upper 0.1%. And down here would be the bulk of people. So in any case, that is what one of these pockets look like. And each of these pockets, if we go back to this, each one of these looks like that. So we have over here another nation, another country, another place. Every single nation on Earth is a warped pyramid of power. Some, perhaps, less warped than others, but in today's age, they're all pretty warped. And obviously some countries are more powerful than other countries, and you just make their warped pyramid a different size based on that. Each one of these, of course, is made up of millions of people, depending on the population of the country. And if we are going to say that these black pits of despair are if we're going to just say that those are the nations where the most horrendous stuff is going on, the reality is those pits of despair are still flattened pyramids. It's just the vast majority of the people in the country are doing horrible, and there's always an elite class that is doing well, even if it's just like warlords or something, or the dictators, in a country where there's a authoritarian rule, that the few that are in power are the ones, are the little spike of the pyramid. So that's the world. That's the world in 3 dimensions. All the pits of despair and all the wealthy nations. Obviously without putting them all on the map, or just sort of, this is just sort of a metaphor for us to see. And the reality is that the upper parts of these pyramids are the places where things are going pretty well, and the lower parts are where you are the most poor and struggling the most. So the lower parts of these pyramids would be where more darkness and horrible, uncomfortable, difficult things happen. And some of these pyramids probably need to have even wider base to really accurately indicate. Okay, so here's the world. So what do we do to get this world to be bigger and bigger spirals of good living, good standard of living, good safety, opportunity to live a decent life and to flourish? Well, you have to understand that power is what shapes the world. Power. And again, these pyramids are about power. Wealth is only one measure of power. Sometimes a person can have power just by their voice, their influence, but that puts them in a different spot. So here we have the powers of the world. So, yeah, we need to understand that the way the world decides how to use its resources, because if you think about each of these have the ability to do things. This is collective power of this population. This collective power can put a man on the moon. It can launch a war against another nation. It can build a giant wall between its nation and another country. This can do anything, though, this collective power. Anything that you can do with the tax money of this population, or the collective willpower, however else you harness it, this is wielded by this organism. But this organism is controlled by the top. This entity is controlled. All of these are controlled by the top of their hierarchy of power. And this has served humanity okay. It's the best we could come up with, from the time of civilization first starting, is you come up with a leader. Otherwise, it's just sort of, these leaders emerge. Especially if you look at these war trends, these leaders emerge out of chaos. You don't really have. It's not like they emerge out of a truly flat situation. When a country is war torn, what you have is little pockets of power. Warlords, you might say, in some of these situations, and in some countries, that's the way it is. It's like they have these. And this is probably more accurate for these war-torn nations, that they have little pockets of power. Or if they have a civil war, they have 2 spears of power competing against one another. Because that's what these people in these hierarchies, they do. They, sometimes representing their country and the interest of their country, they're competing with the other pockets of power, and, but basically what happens is the people in power, the people that rise up these pyramids, tend to be people that like power. And people that like power and that are drawn to power tend to be very flawed. Not a lot of people climb the power pyramid because they love all of the people, even in their country. Usually they have many flawed motivations. But another way to look at it is simply that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So in these places where the powerful literally have the ability to do whatever they want, places where they have an authoritarian regime where they can just put you in jail, kill you, disappear you, and this happens in all sorts of countries on earth, all sorts of places, and even in the Western democracy, the state has extraordinary power, and the wealthy have extraordinary power to do things that the people lower in the pyramid do not have, because people up the pyramid, they have the full resources of the legal system at their disposal and the most expensive lawyers at their disposal. And money is power. You can do things with money. If a person up here wants to destroy the life of a person down here, and they, a little bit of money, a little creative investing, it's not that hard to do, even legally. So power corrupts. So basically what I'm saying is that the way we're going to get this picture to have more, bigger, beautiful pockets of good health and happiness is we need to change these pyramids, because these pyramids are dysfunctional. Especially, let's take the U.S., this U.S. pyramid. The people up here in the power structure of the U.S., especially these at the top, I mean, if they wanted to figure out a way to make healthy, happy, flourishing lives spread so that the pyramid became wider, and so these got lifted up, maybe you could imagine the pyramid being maybe shaped into something like this. You could still have like this powerful elite, but it's just like, why not try to make the whole pyramid have enough wealth so that they could all have enough food and healthcare to live a happy life? Why not? Why not try for that? Why not? Because the people up here, that is not, either they don't know how to do it, or they're really not motivated to do it. Because the way you get up here to the top of this pyramid is you have to get the help of people right here in the middle of the pyramid. And the way you get the people in the middle of the pyramid to help you get up here is they will ask you to do them favors, and they'll help you get up here. And so it's like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And so all the people up here are doing is like, they're negotiating with one another. Here, I'll donate to your campaign if you help my corporation make a ton of money. Okay, cool, blah, blah, blah. And it's, so it's like, so that's what happens. And